Hello, everybody. Michael Tracy here. So, Roger Stone is someone who always seems to manage to wiggle his way into media prominence for one reason or another. And the latest reason is, of course, his relationship to Trump, which dates back decades. But in the past couple weeks, namely in the past just 1 week, he has been on a media PR blitz and is raising his profile even further and therefore guaranteeing himself some pretty nice book sales. So Stone was on the CBS Early Show this week. He was a featured guest on the Politico podcast. And to top it all off, last night he was the introductory guest on the Bill Maher show. Now, you should watch this interview for yourself just to take in the enormous idiocy of it. But the thing is, you have to, in order to grasp the idiocy, you have to be sort of an informed viewer. And the average Bill Maher show viewer, and this is no knock against them, is not somebody who is going to be intimately acquainted with the ins and outs of the latest controversy over the FBI investigation into potential Russian collusion with the Trump operation. But anyway, they spent a huge portion of this interview, Bill Maher and Roger Stone, talking about Roger Stone's DMs on Twitter with Guccifer 2.0, the entity that is alleged to have been some kind of front for the Russian intelligence services, although that's never been proven, and there are a host of viable theories as to who exactly that person is or persons is. And the insinuation on Bill Maher's part is that merely by sending Twitter DMs with this unknown entity, Roger Stone can be reasonably accused of colluding with Russian state actors to benefit Trump. And therefore, this entire narrative that's been woven is substantiated because it's found its key linchpin merely by the focusing on this exchange that Roger Stone purportedly had with Guccifer 2.0. Adam Schiff, the co-chair of the House Intelligence Committee, raised this himself and referenced it last week in an open hearing. But what really I think is just incredible about this particular exchange, and I'll link to it in the description box, is that Roger Stone is sort of the epitome of sleaze. He's somebody who is chronically dishonest and revels in his dishonesty. He is somebody who traffics in the most base kind of political opportunism and hysteria and has for many decades. Believe it or not, this has caused many journalists to find him endearing. As much as they will want to denounce his supposedly sleazy activities, they nevertheless find him endearing, and they'll use him as a source, and they eagerly heighten his profile on a regular basis. Just as a side note, I met Roger Stone, years back when he was advising Gary Johnson's 2012 Libertarian presidential campaign, believe it or not. But when I went to Stone to ask him about why his involvement in organizing and orchestrating Al Sharpton's 2004 Democratic primary campaign, Stone blocked me on Twitter and got all hissy. So that's my brief history with Stone, and actually I've actually spoken to him since. But yeah, the point is, he's somebody who should obviously be taken with a huge grain of salt and cynicism, and yet you have people like Maher, blowing him up in the sense of assigning him credibility where none should really exist. I mean, the idea that it was a formative moment or a formative development for Stone to have communicated on Twitter DM with Guccifer. I mean, that makes Stone, the turning point in this Russia story. It's preposterous, and it just elevates Stone. I mean, he's loving this. He's getting a huge influx of priceless PR here by being referenced in Congress, by being exalted as the central figure in an alleged conspiracy, and his book sales will reflect that PR blitz. I can assure you of that. So, speaking of unwitting agents or useful idiots, Bill Maher in this instance was a useful idiot of Roger Stone. Okay, so that's pretty undeniable. But the other thing is, liberal elites have gotten so deranged, and I would include Bill Maher in that category, that they are continuously making people like Stone look sane and sober and even-tempered by comparison. So here's a quote that Bill Maher uttered on his show last night. Quote, when he was interviewing Stone. Quote, "It looks like Trump and his crime family were installed by Russia to loot and destroy America." Now, of course, Bill Maher is a comedian. There's going to be a hint of hyperbole there, naturally. But, I mean, that sentiment, which he uttered earnestly, that's bonkers. I mean, that's just insane. Installed by Russia is the phrase you would use to describe the way in which a Manchurian candidate was brought to power. Now, a Manchurian candidate is somebody who is literally being controlled by a foreign power and whose actions are dictated directly by that power with the aim of subverting the host country. Okay? So that's the theory that Maher is espousing, and he also, and this was truly unbelievable, if you like me, watched Bill Maher back during the George W. Bush years here and there, Bill Maher favorably cited Dick Cheney and John McCain because they have, in recent days and weeks, referred to this purported Russian interference as a, quote, act of war. So Bill Maher is now endorsing the interpretation of geopolitics by Dick Cheney and John McCain. So of course, when that's your starting point, anybody who seems even a little bit minimally more even keeled is going to seem much saner than Bill Maher. And Roger Stone occupied that role last night. So, in addition just to fomenting paranoia and insane conspiracies and exhibiting their own derangement, one thing that this entire story is doing is that it's actually making people who would otherwise be utterly discredited, such as Roger Stone, making them out to be sort of like the tribunes of reason in a time when insanity has prevailed. And Roger Stone certainly does not deserve that title. So, anyway, again, I'll link to the Bill Maher segment in the description box if you feel compelled to watch it. But anyway, this is something that I thought was worth commenting on. Let me know if you agree. Anyway, have a wonderful day.